We're headed to the Grand Floridian to eat at the most expensive restaurant on Disney property and the only one with a Michelin star, Victoria and Albert's. Right off the bat, I want to mention you do get complimentary valet service if you are dining at Victoria and Albert's. So be sure when you're parking your car to let them know you're eating at Victoria and Albert's, and they will comp that valet for you. Victoria and Albert's opened in 1988 with the Grand Floridian and is named after Queen Victoria and her Prince Consort Albert. It's located on the second floor right next to Citrico's, and when you walk up to this little check-in area for both restaurants, you let them know you're there for Victoria and Albert's, and almost immediately somebody walks out of these two doors and greets you with your formal titles. About a week before your reservation, someone from the restaurant will email you asking your formal titles and any dietary preferences you have, along with any special occasions you might be celebrating. There are 3 dining areas with 3 different pricing and menus in each. Up first is the main dining area. This menu costs $295 per person. Next, we've got the chef's table. This is the most exclusive reservation to snag. This is going to cost you $425 per person. And finally, we have Queen Victoria's room, which is an intimate 4-table room with a special menu. This is where we chose to dine for our 10th wedding anniversary, and this menu runs at $375 per person. We were immediately greeted with a 0-proof cocktail as our sommelier explained that we could add a wine pairing for $210 per person or even a 0-proof pairing for $145 per person. However, the last time my husband and I did a chef's table tasting, we added a wine pairing and I just felt so bloated and yucky at the end of it, and I really wanted to enjoy the food this night and focus on that. So they gave us this super cool menu and we chose a few drinks that we knew that we liked and would pair well with all of our food. There's even a $100 bottle of water on here from a glacier in Alaska, so be sure you check that menu out if you get the chance to go. All right, cheers y'all. Let's start this incredible experience. Once you've settled your drink situation, which by the way, they offer you flat or sparkling water that they make in-house, you are handed your menu. Everyone gets their own menu with their formal title and any special occasions you might be celebrating written on it. It's a beautiful envelope. It reminded me of our wedding invitations actually. And you open it up, it's sealed, you open it up and you get to see your tailored menu for the evening. All I can say is you know the food is going to be amazing when you don't even know what half of the things on the menu are. Let's talk a little bit more about the ambiance. The Queen Victoria room is so romantic. Victoria and Albert had a beautiful love story and you can really feel that in this restaurant. The romanticism definitely comes across. Each table has its own mini table. I'm sure there's a fancy word for this that I don't know, but this is where your server's going to bring your food out on a fancy tray and explain everything to you each time. And interestingly enough, Cinderella is the only Disney IP you will find in this restaurant. The glass butterflies are representative of Cinderella, and the table is adorned with this stunning china, and they use so many cool plates throughout the dinner. I can't wait to show you. I chose to start my dinner off with a glass of rosé. This was about $41, I believe, and my husband started his off with a glass of scotch, and it was also around $40. Okay, time for the best part. Let's get into the food. The first thing we got to try were the Spring Equinox canapes. This was a little special bonus for guest dining in the Queen Victoria room that night, and oh my gosh. The first bite we had was the kingfish, malt vinegar, and capers. It was a play on fish and chips, and wow, I am still dreaming about it. It was so amazing. Definitely one of my favorite things we ate. Next, we tried the English pea, white chocolate, and mint. It was so cute. It looked like a little flower pot, really reminiscent of spring. So much flavor in one little bite. These were just too cool. And last, we had the shallot puff pastry. It was so savory and so delicious. They give you little hand towels, wet, warm hand towels after the canapes to clean your hands, which, by the way, I should have mentioned, they encouraged you to eat these with your hands and have fun with it. Now, I do want to mention to you guys, I'm going to explain our food in a way that I understand it, because the way that they explained these dishes were just phenomenal, and I could never do it justice. But up first, for our first course, we had this beautiful caviar. It had fava bean, dashi, avocado, and just these little crunchy texture things that, it was just incredible. It was such a perfect way to start the meal off. Next, we have pulpo, gazpacho blanco, and marcona, which basically, you guys, this is octopus, and it is octopus like I had never had before. The texture and the flavors were just so good. Another thing I should mention is each course got its own silverware with cool little toys and rests that come with it. So honestly, it's just one of many ways that made this dinner feel even more elevated and fun. Filming inside the restaurant was a little tricky because they do ask that you not film any other patrons, and it's a very quiet, romantic atmosphere. So, I didn't want to be like filming the entire time and kill the vibe, but I did film what I could, and my reactions say it all. For my second drink, I got a dirty martini, which is my favorite cocktail of all time. I'm somewhat of a connoisseur. They did have blue cheese stuffed olives, and wow, this was a 10 out of 10 best dirty martini I've ever had. Okay, course 3. This was the wild turbo. You will see that Brett's dish looks a bit different from mine, and that is because I put on my dietary preferences that I don't care for shrimp, so they made a special dish just for me. Our waiter let us know that turbo was Queen Victoria's favorite dish of all time, and I have to say, it's probably mine now too. It is a very salty fish, but also very buttery and moist, and I loved it. Now, this is weird, but if you've got an OCD heart like I do, this made me so happy. If you spilled something on the tablecloth, they would come by and put these stickers on it so that you wouldn't have to look at it the rest of your meal, and that just made me feel really good. Oh, and I somehow failed to mention that bread comes with every single one of your main courses, so you are eating a lot. Course 4 was a rabbit, cappelletti, sugar snaps, and saffron. I always expect rabbit to be gamey, but this was not the case here at all. Our waiter described this like a rabbit ravioli, and this little crunchy thing on top packed so much flavor too. It was like a cheddar crisp. It was just really nice combination of flavors. I definitely had a couple stickers on my side of the table as well, but that's what I get for making fun of bread, I guess. Course 5 was the quail with sunflower risotto, and that risotto will live in my dreams along with this demi-glaze. It was sweet and savory and just so good. Course 6 was something I had never tried before. This was wild boar tenderloin with rhubarb and broccolini. It also came with a little boar sausage on the side that was a little gamey. And there you can see the other giant loaf of bread. I should have been listening better as to what all of the different breads were, but there was none that I could complain about. They were all amazing. Course 7 was the Wagyu beef with fried rice and oxtail. It's almost impossible to pick a favorite course, but I think this one was mine. Here's another little moment for the utensil rest this round. And I have to say, I never thought I would love oxtail, but digging down through that fried rice, through that crunch, and getting that oxtail out, that was just such a moment for me during this entire meal. Here's a brief little look at the tray that all of the food gets carried out on, and you can see it's embossed with a Victorian Albert's logo. On to course 8. This was a cheese course, and it was Gouda wrapped in fresh Florida guava with a strawberry puree poured around it. And I know you're not going to be shocked, but it was amazing. And the perfect transition to bring us to dessert. But what would dinner be without a show? This Victorian era vacuum coffee pot is coffee as theater, my friends. And it is just as dramatic and delicious as it looks. This honestly could have been my favorite part of the entire dinner. I loved learning about the entire process of it and how it was actually used and invented during Queen Victoria's time. It's just such a nice little touch. It truly transports you back in time and makes this Victorian era restaurant feel completely authentic. Now let's talk about the coffee itself. This was a Sulawesi Indonesian organic and fair trade coffee, and it was absolutely divine. And of course, the cups and saucers were perfect. I mean, seriously, if I could take anything away from this entire experience, I would say someone please buy me all of the china and utensils from Victoria and Albert's. It's just so perfect and so cool. Okay, this is such a random side note, but the wallpaper is actually cushioned, and my friend who went before me told me to check this out, and it just blew my mind. All right, y'all know I had to check out the restrooms. I mean, we were at this dinner for 5 hours, so you're definitely gonna need a potty break. Someone will escort you to the restrooms. However, there is not a bathroom attendant while you are inside the restroom. And don't worry, I made sure no one was in there before I started filming. The decor inside the bathroom was really beautiful. They had these cool little faux plants. And then you get to the main area of the restroom, which there are no paper towels, only actual real towels. There are some really cool products that you can use that are available for anyone to use, like Chanel and some body mist and different things like that. Then you go into the actual restrooms. They are closed off. They're their own separate rooms, and you have another sink with more towels. So these bathrooms are very private, very luxurious, and very elegant, which is exactly what I would expect. The coolest thing in this restroom, and honestly maybe in the entire restaurant, is a letter written by Albert to Victoria, an actual real-life letter from 1824, and it's just hanging there in the bathroom. I peeked back through the main dining room on my way back to my table, and I should note that the entire time there is a harpist playing Disney songs and some 60s and 70s rock type songs. We were told we could request music, and we did request our wedding song. However, I don't think the harpist knew it, but we loved listening to her music nonetheless. All right, back to the table and to our delicious coffee. Let's have some dessert. Up first for our 9th course was the hazelnut praline candied carrot ice cream on top of a cocoa soil, which was described to be like a Tootsie Roll type texture, but I didn't think so at all. This ice cream blew my mind. I'm typically not a praline fan, but I mean, I was converted this night, obviously. Also, I should mention, I don't know what that cone was made out of, but it was delectable. It was like so crunchy but soft at the same time. I don't know how to describe it. And of course, I told Brett to film this because I want this bowl. I want all of it, y'all. As we were winding down, I did order a third and final drink, which was another glass of rosé to drink with my desserts along with my coffee and water, because as Molly from Mammoth Club says, you've got to hydrate, caffeinate, and luxuriate, of course. Our next dessert on course 9 was a mango pavlova with serrano peppers and chantilly, and wow, this one was so unique and really reminded me of Rapunzel's braid. And I do just want to mention, all of our dishes were very floral and spring-like because of this season. So when you go, your menu could be completely different depending on what season you're going. This dessert literally melted in your mouth like magic, and I have to say I've never had peppers on a dessert, and it was delicious. And now for the grand finale, they brought out a special happy 10th anniversary assorted pastry set, and every single one of these were immaculate. I particularly loved the lemon ganache squares and the blueberry macarons. By the end of our 9-course, 5-hour-long dinner, we were feeling pretty silly and definitely food drunk. But our sommelier and waiter made sure that we knew we could sit there as long as we wanted, and the table was ours for the night. Our entire bill, which included both of our menus and 3 drinks for me and 2 drinks for Brett, after tax and tip, came out to be about $1,200. They do give you your check in this cool box, and they do not take any discounts. Overall, I'm going to give this experience a 1,000 out of 10. Seriously, it's just that good. It's worth every single penny. Real quick, I just want to show you one of my favorite little details. If you look down below the roses, you can see Gus Gus, which I think is just so cute. I highly recommend the Victoria room, but if you can't get the Victoria room, just dining anywhere in this restaurant is so special. If you're trying to snag a reservation to this exclusive restaurant, be sure you do it 60 days out, or have a service like Mouse Dining looking for reservations for you, because it can be quite difficult to snag a reservation here. Also, something to keep in mind, children under the age of 10 are not permitted to dine at Victoria and Albert's. Now, recording was quite difficult, but our sommelier made sure that we took some pictures with each other to remember this special night, and he even made us do this awkward prom pose, so there's that. It's hard to choose favorites, like I said, but definitely the canapes to start, the octopus, the Wagyu beef, and that hazelnut praline ice cream will live in my mind forever. It's just so good. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you would ever pay $1,200 for a meal on Disney World property. And as always, stay magical, friends.